Alright, welcome to my 2022 In the Bag. My friend Michael Babbitt had made one of these videos. I'll link it down in the description. And it inspired me to make my own, so here it is. My player rating right now is 973, which is the highest that it's ever been. I'm really looking forward to just playing some more consistent golf this season, getting in contention in some of the tournaments I'm playing, hopefully playing a couple Pro Tour events, and just having fun out there. Alright, and I'll just really quick go through the things on the outside of the bag here that aren't discs. So we've got a wrist wrap to prevent me from re-aggravating a wrist injury that I had. Got a mini in here, as well as some pencils, and then a water bottle and a towel, although I can also fit another drink in this spot. And then I've got a climbing chalk bag that's perfect for drying my hand off before shots if I need to. Getting into the discs, so I'll start with my putting putters. I have two Money Blend matching Wizards. I've been putting with the Wizard for a long time now. It's a nice, reliable, overstable putter with a bead, which I like. And they're plenty cheap, so you can buy a whole bunch of them, like a whole stack to practice with. So that's always good. Moving on to throwing putters. My most understable is this brand new PA4 that my brother Noah got me for Christmas. This is perfect for a nice straight to understable approach shot, or anytime you're trying to get tricky through some trees and you can't make a full swing with your arm, this disc is perfect. Next up is a medium Cenis. This has to be my favorite putter to throw. It sounds really cliche, but this disc is great at holding whatever line you put it on. I'll throw these for hyzer approaches as well as straight shots that maybe just go a little bit left at the very end. Alright, next disc is a Prodigy A3. This is a relatively new addition to the bag, and initially it was really overstable, but recently it's gotten beat up and it's very similar to the Cenis. So I might have to do something about that, but for now it's staying in the bag. I like the grip a little bit better for forehand approaches, so it's a good disc. And the last throwing putter in my bag is this Rookie Wysocki Pig. This thing is insanely overstable. It's good for any conditions, and it pretty much flies as if there was no wind, even if it's one of the windiest days on the course, so it's great for those situations. Moving on to mid-ranges, I typically only have 3 of these in my bag. So right now I've got 2 buzzes. This one is more straight and this one's a little bit more overstable, but I wish it were more stable than it is actually. They're both good for straight to slightly overstable flights, but I don't necessarily trust them in the wind, which is probably why I have so few mid-ranges in my bag. And I'll throw these both backhand and forehand. Then I've got a Swirly MD5. This thing is very similar to a Gator. It's nice and overstable, feels great for forehands and backhand. I actually got my first 2 forehand aces ever with this disc in 2021, and I'm looking forward to hopefully adding some more of those in 2022. Then I've got a 4th bonus mid-range in my bag right now. This bag can actually fit extra discs in the middle here in case you need an extra one for a tournament or you're worried about needing a backup disc. But one of the extra ones I have right now is this Johnny McRae Fuse. This thing is nice and understable. I can throw it on hyzer and it will flip up to flat and then keep going to the right depending on what the wind is doing. This isn't really a shot I've thrown that much, so I'm just kind of testing it out. That's why it doesn't have like a normal spot in the bag yet. All right, moving on to fairway drivers. I'll start with the most understable. I've got this S-Line X-Out Sidewinder. The Sidewinder is always one of my favorite fairway drivers to throw. Right now, this is the only one in my bag though, because I keep losing all the Sidewinders that I have. So I don't know if that says more about me or about the disc, but this is nice and understable. It will pretty much always flip up and then go to the right, and I can even throw rollers with this on occasion. Next up, I've got 2 Explorers. So this one I've had in my bag for a long time. This is a nice flip up to flat, and it will maybe turn right. It definitely will if it's into any sort of wind, but it's a nice, straight, reliable fairway driver. Kind of feels like you're throwing a buzz, but it goes a little bit farther. Then I've got this Team Series Explorer, which I just put into the bag to replace one of the sidewinders that I lost. This thing is actually more stable than I want, so I need to hit a few more trees with it, but in theory this will be a nice complement to the other Explorer as a slightly more stable version. Next up, I've got two Sexton Firebirds from separate years. This one I've been throwing a ton for the last 2 years. It flies a lot more like a Thunderbird nowadays, but it's still a great disc. It will pretty much never flip up if it's put on any kind of hyzer unless it's really windy, and a nice reliable flyer that I can still get out pretty far. This is the 2021 version. It's more stable than that one. It's a great complement to it, and it's usually the most stable fairway driver that I need in my bag. However, for the purposes of this video, I put another Firebird in here. This is just a Champ Firebird with the Mizzou Disc Golf Club stamp on it. This thing is incredibly stable. I'll put this in the bag on like really windy days and can trust it into any kind of headwind. Occasionally it's nice for like flex shots if you have a really weird line you need to hit, but I just don't need that shot enough, so that's why it's normally not in my bag. All right, moving on to distance drivers, which are down in this other pocket. So first up, I've got two 11-speed discs that I added to the bag this year. The first is this Grace. This disc is a great straight to a little bit understable disc that's kind of a complement to the Pink Explorer that I have that goes a decent amount farther than that though. There are definitely times where I can even throw this as far as any of the distance drivers in my bag. It's nice for easy distance, and it's also nice when I just need a little bit more control than I feel like I get with some of my faster distance drivers. So this is a great disc that I've been throwing a lot this year. Then I've got the Streamline Discs Trace. I actually bought this at the exact same time as I did the Grace, and I put them both in my bag immediately. I think they might even have the same flight numbers. They're definitely both 11-speed discs, but the Trace is a fair amount more stable than the Grace. So if I'm thinking about throwing the Grace and it's a little more windy, or I just can't afford it to flip over to the right at all, I'll throw the Trace instead. Moving on to 12 speeds and above. First up, I've got this Splatter Star Shrike. This is a great disc for a nice understable distance flight. Anytime there's a lot of tailwind, this disc is great, or if I'm just trying to really focus on not overthrowing and putting it on hyzer, it'll always find a nice flight. Finally, for the last mold in my bag, I actually have 4 Star Destroyers. First up is this red Ricky Wysocki Destroyer. I think this is probably the destroyer that I throw the most. It's definitely my go-to if it's not too windy and I just need to rip a shot, forehand or backhand. If I throw it right, it'll get a nice S flight out of it. It'll always come back to the stable hyzer finish at the end though. Next up is this yellow Paul McBeth Destroyer. This disc actually has my longest ace ever on it, and then I lost the disc like the next weekend after that. It took a long time, but I finally got this thing returned, and I just recently put it back in my bag to replace a DD3 that I can't use anymore. I was hoping it would be less stable than the Ricky Destroyer, however, it's actually a very similar flight right now, so I'm not totally sure what to do with these discs. I kind of want one of them to get beat up a little more so I can tell them apart better. Then I've got this green Paul McBeth Destroyer. This thing is noticeably more stable than the red and the yellow one. This is perfect if I want to throw the red one, but there's more headwind. This is also great if I am trying to throw a little bit more of a flex shot, or I just know I need it to stay on hyzer the whole time. This is a great disc for any of those kind of shots. And finally, I've got this Calvin Heimberg Destroyer. This thing is extremely domey. It's extremely overstable. I do not know how Calvin throws these things so far. I always joke that I'll go like 2 months without ever throwing this disc, and then for a super windy round, I'll throw it on almost every hole, and that definitely rings true depending on what the course is. It's a great disc for anything that's super windy, or if I need to throw some kind of flex shot. All right, so that's it for all the discs in my bag. In the middle, there's more storage space in here. I always keep some snacks, some bug spray, hand sanitizer, extra towels, just a bunch of extra minis, anything like that. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching my 2022 in the bag. I'm looking forward to doing great things out on the course this year, and hopefully I'll see you out there. Like, comment, and subscribe, or something like that. Thanks.